And welcome to another episode of First Canada Live, everyone. It is here. We're here. We've got through the provincial championship and we're here to talk about everything that happened. But before we can do that, as Canadians, it is important to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of respect for the indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we remember the history of these lands and people that have been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with the First Nations who called Canada home before it was given this name. This history is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect on, and each of us is affected by this history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not define our future. All right, folks, I am your host, Karthik Apathy, and we have so much to talk about today. We just finished the Provincial Championship. It was an amazing event. And to help us chat about this, well, who better than two people who were right down there as it was happening on Drive Teams, our Youth Council co-hosts, Maya S. from Team 7659, HNMCS Robotics from Mississauga, and Quinn M. from Team 1310, Runnymede Robotics. How's it going, folks?
Going well. How are you, Karthik?
Uh,
Hi.
I am good, Quinn. I am really good. I'm still a little bit exhausted. Provincials took a lot of energy. There was just so much happening, right?
Yeah, it was a long couple of days.
And we'll talk all about it in just a
Oh yeah.
moment because it was just such a cool event. Because that's all we're talking about today. We're talking about the provincial championship. And folks, if you have any questions for us, drop them in chat. Let me pull up chat here, make sure I'm looking at it. And we'll try and answer them live on air. But folks, remember your gracious professionalism while we're chatting here because we want to be positive about all the good things that happened. So I think probably it's important to start here at the beginning. And part of the beginning is like, taking care of ourselves. So let's do our youth council wellness moment. Quinn, what are you thinking about? What helps you de-stress at this time of year?
So, competition season just ended for my team, and that can be some of the most stressful moments, especially as a drive coach. So, one of the things that I have tried to do with my team is do a little something to keep it silly, keep it exciting and fun. So, a big thing that we have done for the past 3 years is doing the little Raven. If you've seen my team at any competition, you've seen us go down side to side.
Can you
This
do
is
it for us, please,
something.
Quinn? Please.
Pardon?
Can you show us the Raven?
Oh, sure. It's kind of like you got the wings and you go back and forth. For reference, it's right first and then left. A lot of people think it's left,
Oh,
right?
right first
No,
and
it's
then
right
left.
first.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kept a positive energy. Exactly. There you go. You've done it. You've done it
Yeah,
almost every time that I've done it.
I do the Raven with you. I try my best.
Yes, you do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a hard task.
Yeah. I'm
But
a
yeah.
fan of all the bird teams, the biggest birds. They got the Flappy Bird and then
Hmm.
the owl. Oh,
Exactly.
who, who? Where'd the owl come from? Sorry. Okay, I'm distracted from your wellness moment,
Yeah.
Quinn. I'm being an idiot. Go on.
But yeah, so it keeps the space positive. It's also a lot of other teams they love to join into, and it really brings the gracious professionalism together, working with your other teams on your alliance, and it's a whole lot of fun, and it keeps my driver and operator a little bit less stressy, and as a result of that, makes me a little bit less stressed. So yeah, that's my little wellness.
It works well. It works well. Maya,
Yeah.
what about you?
So now that provincials are over, I know we're catching up on a lot of sleep, and a good way to do that is actually practicing a little bit of gratitude. It kind of reduces the stress, and I think it personally helps me. So I have a couple of questions for you guys if you want to answer them. So specifically, what are you grateful for today? I know I can start. I know today was a little bit cold, but the weather is slowly warming up for spring. So that's what I'm really grateful for and excited about. What about you guys?
Go
How
you
about you,
first, Quinn.
Karthik?
Okay, well, I'll go first. Every day. I wake up, especially over the past few months, I am grateful to be living in Canada. I think we have a wonderful country where we celebrate our diversity, our kindness, our tolerance, our empathy, our wanting to help each other out. And uh, could be anywhere else in the world, but I'm here and I'm really grateful for that.
Amazing. For me, I would say, yeah, I'm grateful for the weather. It was a little chilly today, but it was still very sunny, and I missed the sun from all the clouds. So I'm very grateful that the sun is back. And walk on my walk to the grocery store today, I saw some buds on the trees, and I'm really excited to see spring come.
It's great.
All right, folks. Well, that's what we're grateful for. Also, I'm grateful. Speaking of the spring weather, Quinn, my tulips are starting to come up. I'm excited for them. I hope, by the time I go to Houston next week and come back, they'll be right there for me. That's usually what happens. I go away for 1 week, and but like at least now I got a camera on the tulips, so I'll be able to watch them in Houston. I'll be able to check in on them, see how they're doing. So
Hopefully.
excited about that. It's like a security cam to check if anyone's breaking into my house or whatever, but I can also see the tulips, which is
It's
much
a
more
it's a
important. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
a tulip can.
Yeah, basically. All right, folks. Thank you for those wellness moments. Time for some news updates. And folks, oh, we got a big one. We got breaking news. We got breaking news. First released the final team update of the season today, and it's a big one because it's about some of the changes for the championship. So right now, as it stands, before the update, it took 5 coral per level to get the coral RP. So 5 coral on all 4 levels, and with auto, 5 coral per 3 levels. Well, that number's gone up to 7 now. It is 7 coral per level, and 7 coral per 3 level if you want to do it with co-op. And for the barge RP, instead of it being 14 points, which was commonly a deep climb in a park, it's now 16 points, which is a deep climb in 2 parks. And so Quinn, Maya, you both were heavily involved in the drive teams for your team, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Specifically for the one about the park and the hangs, our bot was really good at the hangs, so we loved that one, and we had the other team park at the last second. But now knowing that we need to fill the corals up and do the 2 parks, it's like, oh, we gotta strategize it better, and it's more complicated, but I kind of think it makes it almost more fun because you're just rushing towards the last second, and that last second counts. So.
Yeah, I would say the same thing for our team. I know, like, I saw your bot. Our bot also had a pretty consistent deep climb. And so to have, I know the strategy a lot of the times was to have one team come and park or climb and then have the other team keep cycling. So it's one of those things, if something goes wrong in a match and you're not able to get that second robot to park, it's going to be a little bit more, risky.
Um, I have a lot of thoughts on this. So if you look at, we'll just look at the technology division because I have the data handy right here, and like the median team was averaging about 8 or 9 coral a match. So you multiply that by three. Let's say it's 9. Let's go on top end. That's 27. So 3 average teams are short of the RP without co-op. And on the other hand, when it was at 20 that you had to get 5 times 4, 3 times 9, 3 average teams should be clearing that no problem and getting that
Mhm.
RP. If the RP is too easy at Worlds, if it would stay at 20 and suddenly everyone's doing it, it's almost like a punishment when you don't get it. And if something
Yeah.
misses or whatever, and that's not good. Like so if like one of your teams gets stuck on algae or something and you don't get the RP. So like you want the RP to be attainable, but like hard enough that it's a challenge. So like I get it going up. But going up to 28, that's a lot. And all of a sudden, before a co-op was worth 5 coral cycles, essentially it drops it by 5, but you had to give up 2 cycles by doing the 2 co-op cycles for your alliance. So it's like a trade-off of like 3, but now it's a trade-off of 5. Co-op is super, super important. So all of a sudden, like I think you need to be like co-op's just got to be happening every match. But then it gives power to the team who doesn't want a co-op to hurt someone's ranking. So I don't know, it's going to change things. Although but I think if they didn't raise it at championship, everyone was going to be getting that RP. We saw how
Yeah.
common it kind of became at provincials,
Yeah.
and worlds is even a stiffer level of competition. Especially at the average goes up at worlds. At the top level, I don't know if you're going to have anything. The technology division, Quinn, you were right there. It was like it
Ooh,
was
I
silly.
was
It
there.
was silly the top teams in that division. Like I don't know if we're
Yeah.
gonna see that at Worlds necessarily, but and for the barge one, I think Maya, you brought up a good point. Before it was like if you're a team like yours who was like, consistent deep climbs, like yeah, you can just count on one team to park. But now you got to get both of them there to park. And like if one just misses or whatever, it's almost like to be safe, you kind of want to have two deep climbs now, which might be available at the Worlds because Ontario didn't have as many deep climbers as like other regions did. But I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting. It's a new wrinkle and it's a new dynamic, and I think everyone needs to think about it. Um, I also think because if you don't do co-ops, that means you got to put seven on level one. Level one is the hardest freaking level with the way
It
everyone
is.
designed their robots. So
Yeah.
like, you know where the advantage goes to? Alliances who have like a kit bot on them. You think about someone like 5672 who could put up like 10 L1s in a match sort of thing. Or a team like the Waffles who added an L1 specific device for provincials. All of a sudden, they're in a really good spot because at Worlds, there'll be tons of teams who can do L3 and L4. Just no problem there. But L1 is a pain, Like how many times did we see like really, really good teams hit the first three levels, no problem, and they're just they put one in and it falls out. And they put one
Mhm.
in and it falls out. So I don't know. It's gonna be shout out to all the kit bots and every bots. You're a little bit more in demand right now, at least in qual matches.
Even with the hang, I find if there's gonna be a scenario when two teams go for the deep climb, you have to be so precise not to like hit the last one in the last second, and that's
Yep.
just, I think it's just making it more fun, but also increasing the risk. But
Yeah,
I'm
and
excited
Maya, like
for it.
those last second parks too. If you come in and park, but then you accidentally touch the deep climb, that's no longer a deep climb. And
It's
so we
no
saw
longer.
that happen a few times. So like
Yeah.
imagine that. Like you got one team who's up and then the other team comes into park and the other team's coming in for a last second. They go to score a coral because they're trying to get the seventh on the level to get the RP and they glide back and they glide back too far and they hit oh.
Yeah. It's happened. I know that one all too well. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Raise your
yeah.
hand if you've been victimized by a parking robot during a deep climb, right? Yeah. Oh, Quinn. Sorry,
It
sorry.
was rough, but it's okay. It happens. Um,
Um, quickly before we move on. Oh, sorry, Quinn, what you're trying to say?
oh, the one big thing is with the getting two robots to do the deep climb, a really big issue this year has been the swinging cages.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be really cool to see how teams try to settle those to make sure that they can get the two climbs.
I
And even the
did.
visibility, right? Because the three with the reef in the middle,
Yeah.
seeing one of the hangs is so hard for my driver. Was even talking about. She's like, I need to, if I'm in the third station, I need to be
The
parking
far
at
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Good hanging.
the challenges are only going up. But guess what? You know what? You qualified for Worlds. You deserve a bigger challenge. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, folks, quickly, news updates. We've only got one more show left this season. We're going to be back on August, April 29th. That's a couple weeks after Worlds, and we'll be interviewing some of the top teams from Worlds, just to chat with them about their performance and everything that happened there. So that will be an exciting one. And also, folks, if you haven't already yet and you would prefer to listen to the show as a podcast, subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on Apple Music. It's all there for you. And also, don't forget, turn on your notifications so you know when we're going live. And then finally, if especially folks, for anyone who is going to Worlds, you have questions about things, join the Ontario Team Slack. There's a Slack channel called Champs 25 where you can get all your questions answered about sharing a bus, where to find food, how to get your robot across the border, all those sorts of things. All right, folks, we're going to be back talking about wrapping up the season essentially, but we'll do that in a moment after a word from one of our sponsors, Rockwell. All right, folks, we are back and we're talking about the provincial championship. And there was a lot that happened this past week, so I want to know, maybe Maya, we'll start with you. What impressed you the most about this weekend's event? It could be on the field, it could be off the field, anything.
So my favorite part about provincials, I think, is when I walk into the pits and it's just overflowing with people. There's so many people there. I mean, by the time I find my pit, it takes a little while. But, and then as you walk onto the field, there's even more people in the stands. So for me, I just like seeing like kind of the whole atmosphere and how everyone is so occupied on the game. But one of the robots I did like was it was 7475's. Their robot was almost like it was like a slinky kind of, but it went
Lift.
up and
Yeah, a
down.
scissor lift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the scissor lift. But that was one of my favorites because I liked how the design really just I liked looking at it. So
I I like how they pulled out the scissor lift such that it would angle forward a little bit to help them score the coral instead of just going straight up and then having to have some sort of appendage there. Like the linkage was designed such that it curved. I thought that was brilliant. So I was a big fan of that one too, Maya. What about you, Quinn? What impressed you?
I would say just kind of the sheer powerhouse that the Ontario district is. Just in terms of the field that my team was on, it was crazy going into that, and we're like, we just lost a match at 215 points. This is something that we could have never imagined, especially coming from our first competition at week two, and teams barely skimming the 100 mark, and it was just crazy to see all of these teams grow in performance and just to see how well all these teams especially could mesh together to get those high scores.
We'll talk about it when we look at the stats, but there's an argument to be made that this was this the best event of the season. The scores were so high. I don't want to dive too much into stats 'cause we'll do it later on, but it was just like it was wild. Like to be the Alpha Dogs and the Chargers and put up 251 points in a match and lose by 20. It was just like my brain is broken at that point, or the scores were just consistent. Like there were plenty of 200-point matches that were losing the playoffs in technology. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't enough. You just had to do more, and you could just do everything you could. I was also really impressed by, and we've talked about this on the show for the last 5 weeks about like when are people going to start doing algae? When are people going to start doing? Oh, well, I mean, algae was everywhere. Like we saw a few matches in the playoffs where there was no more algae on the carpet. All the algae was up top in the nets, which I thought was impressive and overdue. And we saw some algae specialists. Maya, you talked about 74-75. I'm going to add one to that team number, 74-76, who had the algae shooter, and they were just phenomenal. The EOM Lions, 772, who did a bit of a rebuild and went pure algae, and what they were doing so well, and same with 74-76, and same with 7200, the other algae bot, going to the other side of the field and stealing their opponent's algae.
Mhm.
So no algae was safe, and that was making the big difference. And at times, like uh, Alliance 4, I want to say Alliance 5, Alliance 4, yeah, I think that was the 11, 14, 6, 10, 7, 7, 2 Alliance. They'd come out and they'd be down by like 25 points after auto, and they wouldn't fill the reef as much as the other alliance, but they'd still win because 772 and 1114 were just pounding the algae. And it was like, oh, okay, so this is where we are with the game. It's really big. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Anything surprised you this weekend, folks?
Yeah, on the science side, it was actually not Alliance 1 and 2 who made it to the finals, because when I
Yep.
was at McMaster and Centennial, it was Alliance 1 and 2. So it was kind of nice seeing kind of the change in alliances. It's not that it was really surprising, it was just honestly fun to see. And then, well, the winner, but I just enjoyed how it wasn't just 1 and 2. It
Yeah.
was 3 and 4, and then that kind of changed it up a little bit and made provincials, it was already fun, but it just made it more entertaining, I find.
I, I think Team Dave ending up on Alliance 3 really opened things up because I thought Team Dave, they just had an amazing season, an amazing robot. And I thought they were the strongest team in that division, but weren't able to claim the #1 seed for a variety of reasons, schedule things, and just like some amazing strategic play by 4039 and 1241 to be above them in the rankings and whatever. And then I think that really opened things up there, And so but yeah, there was I was surprised to see Alliance 2, 1241 and 8884 go down a little bit early, but I just think it just goes to the strength of the other teams and what's going on there. So yeah, I think size was really well balanced. And I think that's what allowed for that. What surprised you, Quinn?
Ooh, I would say probably, ooh, I don't even, there were so many things, especially on technology that were just mind-blowing. I mean, the big one I would say is just, yeah, the sheer power of those algae robots. I know, Karthik, we talked about this week one with the Everybot reveal. We
Yeah.
discussed that algae is going to be the big deal breaker. We just didn't know when.
Yep.
And I think I was at North Bay with 7476 SquareBot, oh no, SpongeBot Square Frame, as they call their robot. So I had seen their amazing algae shooting, but it was really awesome to see it pair with those high coral scoring robots and seeing that really go into action. So I think the thing that surprised me the most was, yeah, their strength at competition and seeing how the algae bots really contributed to their alliances and made sure that not only they were getting those points with the algae and the barge, but in the net, but how they were keeping the floor clean for their coral cyclers because you don't want to get beached.
Oh, I mean, like I'm thinking on the science division, I think it was final three when 75-58 went to the other side of the field to grab that last piece of algae was there, but they ended up getting beached on it in the reef, their opponent's reef zone, and then penalty, 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 and all of a sudden the match, it was like it was neck and neck. That match was like I didn't know which way it was going to go. The score just kept flipping and flop, and then I saw Alt F4 dash to the other side of the field. I'm like, oh, if they get that piece of algae, that's valuable because that's going to keep it from them. It's kind of like an 8 point swing. And then when they went up on the algae, like I kind of did one of these because I was like, no, that's not
Yeah.
how you want someone's season to end. That's just you just kind of feel helpless there, and especially when you get stuck on your own side, it's bad enough, but on the opponent's side, then the penalties come into play, and
Yeah.
that was heartbreaking.
It was. And especially when you go over to the other side, I would say beaching is way more likely to happen when you're over on that other side of the reef because you have almost zero vision if you don't have any like like limelights that are high enough on your
Yep.
robot to see over there, you're gonna get beached and
Oh,
it's really unfortunate.
yeah, like Maya, you were saying earlier about how hard it is to see the climbs, but
Yeah.
the other side of the field is like, further beyond, and there's cages in the way, there's two reefs in the way, there's robots in the way. It's a lot. Um, I want to talk, so there's so much that happens at provincials. Obviously, there's we were just talking about all the matches and everything else. Tell me something cool that you saw at provincials beyond the matches. Like Quinn, I saw you at the alumni celebration. I think I saw you at the alumni celebration. What did you
Yeah.
think of that?
Oh, it was really fun. The last kind of celebration that I'd been at was the alumni social at McMaster a couple years ago, and it was nice to see all of these alums come together and celebrate those who have done so much in the first community and in the communities around them. So I would say that was probably it was a really nice, my first season back in on-season competition. I met a whole bunch of great people who were alums, and now my last year with that event, I was able to meet even more. So it was kind of a fun full circle moment. So yeah, I'd say that was definitely a highlight.
What about for you, Maya?
Well, I didn't attend the alumni celebration, but whilst talking with what Quinn said, I think you realize that it's your last year at more at provincials, and you realize that, oh my God, I had all these years, and now it's kind of finally, I don't want it to come to an end, but my competition years as a student are sadly over. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to come back. It just means maybe I'll come back as a mentor, hopefully. But I agree with Quinn on that point that the alumni part. It was more impactful now that it was my last time at provincials.
I always have at provincials or the last event of the year. Sometimes you get this feeling at Worlds, but when you kind of walk through the pits when it's all over and most of the tables are gone, most of the teams are gone. There's still some people lurking and having conversations or whatever. And you just realize, oh, it's over, and I'm sure for all of you, as Maya, you're in grade 12 as well. So like, yeah, it's like it's a phase of life, it feels like graduation day to a certain degree or whatever, where it's like this huge celebration and everyone loves graduation day because you're hanging out with your friends and you're celebrating or whatever. But there's also this like, I'm not going to be back here, or if I am back here, it's going to be different. But that's the beautiful thing about first. You can always come back, but there's nothing like those years as a student. Those especially. That's what this program's about. So that's a big one.
Exactly.
Just wrapping up here, but Maya Quinn, did you have a chance to give out your Gracious Professionalism pins this week, or did you give it out earlier, or do you have a story of Gracious Professionalism you want to tell us about?
Yes. So Quinn, I actually gave it to one of the members from 1310 from your team. So I gave mine at Centennial and I was doing strategy and I cleared the strategist from 1310. Shout out. She was super nice to me. She was overall, the strategy meeting, it was so chill. It was like, okay, we're going into this, it's going to be a fun match. Like we'll get our ranking points, we'll score coral, but it was so chill. And then I was like, I was having like a nice conversation with her. So shout out to her. She was great. And she just made my day. Yeah, that's where I grabbed my great Gracious Professionalism pin.
Awesome. And what about you, Quinn?
I gave my Gracious Professionalism pin out at provincials. And I gave it to the previous drive coach of Team 4039 Makeshift. I have worked with him a lot over the past couple of years, and he's always been a very gracious helping hand, especially as a newer coach coming into that area as a 10th grader. And so seeing him at provincials as the lead queuer, and honestly, queuing is not an easy job, especially at provincials. And so his attentiveness to helping the teams there, even if they were running a little bit behind schedule, or my team when we accidentally switched our bumpers when we were in the lower bracket when we weren't supposed to, it made an impact on me and my team. And so that's who I gave my pin to.
All right. Well, that's a fabulous look back at provincials. But folks, we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into some of the stats and watch some match video in just a moment. But before we do that, let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors, 3M.
So FIRST Robotics Competition is the epitome of the robotics competitions here in Canada. It's an opportunity for high school students to get involved in the engineering design of an entire robotic system.
People think robotics is all about building the robot, right? But building the robot is only half the challenge. Building the robot is actually a vehicle for you to build your own self.
For our Canadian manufacturers to stay competitive, there's a lot of automation and robotics that have to go into our manufacturing facilities. So the skills that the kids are learning in this competition hit that mark spot on.
There's definitely the technical ones. I've learned how to do CAD design. I've learned how to work machines. But one of the really, really big ones that I really like is and I think it's really important in this world, is I've learned how to work with a team. Without being able to work as a team going into industry, it's not going to work out.
There are absolutely skills that the students are using today that are things that we use in professional careers that have to do with STEM. They are learning how to communicate. They are learning how to collaborate. They're learning how to think outside the box so that they're not limiting themselves to one thing. They're getting to do coding, marketing, design, engineering, science, the whole 9 yards all together.
It really teaches you all these different skills that you wouldn't think that you would know. It teaches you, how to work with other people, how to do soft skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Some of our alumni have gone on to receive excellent scholarships at top-tier universities, and because of that, they've started getting known well by top-tier companies, which allows our brand to carry on as they work for large technological companies in the programming sector, in the automation sector. It's really interesting to see where we end up.
All right, folks, we are back, and now we're going to take a deep dive into what happened on the field at Provincial. So let's take a look at some of the stats. And I think we're going to start with the science division. Maybe we'll start with the technology division. We'll see. I don't remember what order I did it in. All right, we are going to start with the science division. And so like we kind of said earlier, things shook out a little bit differently because as I get my pen ready and the blue circle spins, and I promise I'll have my new laptop set up for next season. Team Dave, baby. Team Dave, all out here on their own. They were the strongest team. Again, like Maya mentioned earlier, a little bit surprising that they didn't seed number one. And so they declined the number one alliance and as such went to form their own alliance, and they formed a great one. But so what happened was 4039, who was a really, really solid team and with some great strategy, seeded number one, but they were in this same sort of tier. And it was like, it's like tier one, and like 4907 kind of is tier two, and then everyone here is tier three. Although I'll keep saying this, 1241 is completely underrated by EPA. I think they belong more out here. But what you got was, and let me just undo my last circle. So, you have 1241, 4039 getting together with 4907, and then 1241 getting together with 8841, and then 3683 getting together with 4476. And we see, oh, this could actually be a little bit balanced. And then we also had down here 1325 getting together with 7558. You see it all is kind of linked together here. And then 4152, we see all the overlap going on here, as opposed to like the other times where we have circle one, circle two, circle three, where it's kind of easy to see what's going on. Those aren't circles at all. Those are ovals, but it was strong. So let me just clear all the drawings, and we can take a look at what this looked like in alliance form on the next slide. And right there for you, when we combine up the EPAs, Maya, you called it. Alliance 3 was where the power was, because Team Dave was so strong, and they got a great team in the Waffles, 4476, and that was right there. And then the next highest was shockingly Alliance 5, which, and like we said, this is what we had in the finals. It's like EPA's predictive nature is a little bit uncanny. That right there, like a lot of people might have said, oh, it's going to be Alliance 1 and Alliance 2, like it's been at most events. But it's Alliance 3 and Alliance 5. Now, this is like EPA is like a little bit deceptive. This is not what the EPA looked like at the start of Alliance selection. This is what it looked like after the playoffs. So like it reflects in how well 1325 played in the playoffs, because they were really cooking. And then 3739 is the second pick, man. That is so, so strong. Look at the EPA 51. So it was just this was really cool. Maya, you were over there. Any thoughts on these science alliances?
During alliance selection, I was shaking because I was so excited when teams were picking it. And then I just want to give a shout out to the teams, how hard it can sometimes be to kind of say you reject to form your own alliance. It is hard, but then the kind of path to getting to, again, like Team Dave, how they were able to be in Alliance 3, but they have such a high scoring robot, right? And such high scoring alliance. It just shows how sometimes it can be hard. However, you get to perform well, and that's kind of what the game was about. And then watching that, it was super fun. I loved all about it. It was great watching from the science side, and I was in the back actually, so I had like the full view on it, and then I could see. We had Alliance 5. I was kind of on the back where Alliance 5 was, the driver station was. So during that last match where I saw the 7558 was stuck on the coral. I could see the driver, and I felt really bad, but then that's kind of how the game is. But it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting here is so, when we got to Team Dave's pick, they had the choice between 44-76 and 75-58, just like two really, really good teams. I know both of you saw 75-58 up close at Centennial and how good they could be, and they only got better. And so they had a super tough choice to make. I don't think there was a wrong answer there. And that's why we saw all of that in the finals. But and then, shout out to 4039 for fighting their way to the number 1 seed and getting all the way up there. And 4907, that's 2 years in a row they've been picked first overall in their division, which just kind of shows how strong the Thunder Stamps are. But that was pretty solid. So now let's take a look at the technology division. And folks, here we are again. Now, this is one graph that looks a little bit more like what we have been used to seeing, where guess what, folks? Team 2056 is still the best team. They are phenomenal. It was just wild watching them play, but they didn't seed number 1 at the event. The number 1 seed was 46-78. They fought. And I think arguably staked the claim rightfully to being the second best team in the province, or they were right up there with 2056 at points this weekend. When you would watch the two of them play at the same time on the same alliance, they were going cycle for cycle. It was super, super cool. So, we saw these two connect, and then we saw 49-46 with their next pick. Well, they got their old friends from Newmarket, and they connected, and you can see, well, yeah, they're kind of, no one's in the range here, so it makes sense. Alliance 1, Alliance 2. Then Alliance 3 was 5406 and 2200. And then Alliance 4 was the connection of 1114 and 610. And so we saw, this is where the battle kind of went. And Alliance 4 ended up knocking out Alliance 3, and we got to this part, but it was just like, this was just all really, really high scoring. But you can see this is where like the density of the division was. And then you might be like, well, what about teams like 49-17 and 90-98? They would have been the number 1 seed at most other events around the world. But technology just had everyone up there, and everyone was chasing the Cavs and OP, which is a hard game to play. So let's take a look at the next slide. And I'll clear all the drawings. And right there, look at the total EPA combined for Alliance 1, 255. That was 213 for Dave's Alliance. 223, 208, 191. These numbers are freaking massive. I don't know. And it'll show when we take a look at the matches, but this is where we are at. Like, Quinn, you were on Alliance 5. This is a fantastic alliance, but I'm sure you started your matches and then suddenly you look at the score and probably be like, oh wait, we're down by what? What just happened, right?
Yeah, totally. So for us, especially we were really lucky to be on Alliance 5. It was a lot of fun. But coming out of that, the 4v5 match it was difficult, but I think it ended up being a 10 or 12 point difference between the two. So I would say there is that huge difference between Alliance 1 and 2 and the rest of the alliances. But the main thing I'd like to point out for these alliances is the kind of just the overall strength of your second picks and your first picks, especially as you move down. I think technology was a really strong division, and that really showed with the excellence of, yes, those those second picks there.
Well, and I think most alliances 2 through 8, were playing some form of triple offense all the way.
Mhm.
Like they had some defense spliced in there. Like I know the Algae team 74-76, 772, 7200, when they were going to the other side of the field to steal Algae, they'd play a little bit of defense as well.
Mhm.
But then what was wild is while all these 7 are playing triple offense, 46-78 and 2056 are mainly playing just 2 offense, and they were still outscoring everyone. And that's the luxury they had, that they could send a defender and still outscore. It was something to see. So
Yes.
so after having looked at all those stats, I think it's time to look at a match. And folks, we are going to start off with the good one. And when I say a good one, we're going to talk about the highest scoring well, now the second highest scoring match of the season, but the second highest scoring match of the season, Technology Final 1 featuring in red Alliance 1, 46-78, 20-56, and 79-02, and in blue, Team 49-46, 54-09, and 74-76. So let's take a look. And I think this is the match where the auto high score was also broken. So let's keep an eye on the Red Alliance in autonomous mode. And let's get this started. And right off the bat, so you see how 7902 grabs Algae out and scores Coral. And Cavs are getting, OP's got, oh my goodness. Can we pause right here, Heather? Can we pause, please? 10 Algae. I mean, sorry, 10 Coral in auto. 9 level 4s and a level 3. And for they grab a piece of Algae too. And Alliance 2 put up 58 in auto, which is a fantastic score, and they are down by 26 to start the match. It's like, what do you do? What even do you do? And so, Heather, let's keep going with this match. And just I want to keep an eye on 46-78 because the speed at which they go back and forth is phenomenal. And then you see 7902 go to the other side of the field to try and play some defense, to try and slow down 49-46 and 54-09. And it's like, good luck. And then 74-76, they're already stealing Algae. They are on the other side of the field, boom, popping it up with the Algae. They are just saying, hey, Red Alliance, your Algae? No, that's my Algae. Trying whatever they can to make this competitive. And so they're playing a little bit of defense, and it's only a 30-point spread right now. Blue Alliance is doing what they can to keep this close. But now 74-6 is coming back and looking at Algae. 49-46 is super, super smooth scoring. 79-02 is forcing them both to go to the same loading station at this point. Another shot by 74. The Blue Alliance is playing this great. The Red Alliance is just so fast. I don't know, Quinn, what are you seeing?
The big thing that I'm seeing here between the difference between the first seed and second seed alliances is just the kind of the prior congestion over by the feeder station on blue. When you have a defense spot in one feeder station, it forces both of your, in this case, they had 2 mainly scoring robots picking up from that area, and they have Algae, they have Coral in that zone, and sometimes that can really slow down their cycles. And so if you were watching earlier in this match, it was definitely highlighted there that you had a lot of clutter over there. And just honestly, the powerhouse that Alliance 1 is at the 35-second mark, they've got pretty much a full grief, right? So it's really cool to watch, especially from an outside perspective.
This is wild. The Blue Alliance is playing this close to perfect, and they are down by 30 points. 74-76 with the last second processor score here. They're holding on to it till the very last second. Watch this. This is really neat. I know there's climbs and everyone's excited by that, but they're only going to score it right as time runs out. And the human player of the processor doesn't even notice that it's scored. Should have picked that up and tossed it in there. And like right now, it looks closer than it is, 233 to 227. But when climbs get factored in and penalties, we'll see where the final score is. 271 to 251. That is 522 points. You take off the 20 points in penalties. 502. Like right before the match, I think I said, like, hey, can we break 500 to the audience? And everyone's like, yeah. They were right. I don't know. 251 points and you lose. 49-46, 54-09, 74-76. Phenomenal alliance. That's an alliance that could make noise on Einstein. But they couldn't get out of their division at the Ontario Provincial Championship, which kind of says everything about the Ontario Provincial Championship. It is phenomenal. All right, now, so Alliance 1 advances on to moves on to, I want to start calling it Onstein. They have Einstein at champs, Onstein for Ontario. Like, we only came up with it, like me and Praveen, the MC for the science field, came up with it like after the event. We were like, oh, we should have just said on. He's like, oh, Onstein's kind of weird. Let's try and make Onstein a thing for next year. Let's start it right now. So we're going to take a look at Onstein Final 2 for provincials featuring On blue, who we just saw, 4678, 2056, and 7902. And in red, 3683, 4476, 1285. We'll go into auto. And so, Maya, you're the expert on the science division. Tell us what we're going to see here from Alliance number 3 from science. Let's start this match. And I don't want to do a countdown because I'm going to get the timing wrong. There we go. $12.85 doing the algae auto mode. So they put one up on the barge and then they put one up on the reef and then one up there. Oh my goodness. Technology's up by 30. I don't know. Quinn, like you're shaking your head. Like you have to you have to play against this. What's this like?
It's honestly, it was crazy. A big thing just watching is the just the autos that are like 7902 with that algae auto is just something that we hadn't seen at competitions before. It's just these
Yeah.
teams, they're crazy. They know what they're good at, and it's really awesome to see that really come into play, especially in Final Two.
So we see the Red Alliance here. They're not playing triple offense. They figured we got to slow them down somehow. So they got 1285 playing defense. And 1285, watch what they're doing. They're trying to block the throws from the 2056 human player there. And so that they can't get as close to the reef. This is an interesting strategy, the station blocking, which we haven't seen much of. But it's like, and you can watch the 2056 human player. Like she's moving it around there, trying to get around the blocking. It's almost like they're playing like a video game,
Yeah.
where you go side to side and try and get it through there, just to try and slow things down. And then you see 1285 trying to push all that coral up against the wall to make OP drive as far as possible to get it. So that was an interesting one. But like, I mean, there's 1 minute left and they're at 195 points.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's honestly been really cool to see all the different defensive strategies that came into play at provincials. And the one that 1285 used was honestly pretty cool to see because they were able to see what made 2056's cycles just ever so slightly faster and more efficient. And they went into action and tried to make uh, the cycles a little bit slower. So it was
I'm watching the
really
other side of the field, and Team Dave is absolutely cooking. But like, how do you come back from this? Like
Yeah.
7902, there's 20 seconds left. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go climb. You
Yeah.
know, like just lock it up right here. 2056 going to climb early. They go into the wall right there with their it looks like a bull's horn, the way their climber kind of lines up. 4678's in. Yeah, like, do we triple climb here? OP doesn't get off the ground. And I think that's what kept this from being a world high score, actually.
Yeah.
OP not getting off the ground. So let's take a look at that score. 265, 6 points of penalty, so that would have been 259. So if you add the OP climb there, I would have gotten to 269. So it still wouldn't have been a world high
Yeah.
score, but it was close.
It was close.
I don't know. We are blessed to be from this province because we have some of the best teams in the world. And again, 3683, 4476, 1285 feels like an Einstein Alliance,
Yeah.
but not good enough to win the Ontario Provincial Championship. I don't know if we'll see an alliance as strong as 2056, 4678, 7902 this entire season. Now, like at Worlds, maybe if 2056 gets in the same division as like 1323 or 2910,
Yeah.
but short of that happening, because I think 4678 is better than everyone else in the world other than those three teams. Like, 118, 1678,
Yeah.
254 is going to get better. 4414 will probably build a new robot again and
Yeah.
jump up there, but I don't know. Quinn, Maya, anything final to say on those matches?
Hi.
Back when we were watching the technology final, when I was watching 2056, and the way they just took out the coral all by themselves, and not the coral, the algae, and then
Yep.
shot and then put it in the barge, and then went straight to coral. It's like they were doing it all by themselves, and that just was really impressive. I know it's 2056, but it was
I
it
mean,
was so fast, and then they stood like a whole minute and like a little bit still to do the coral, and it was just the cycle time was crazy.
they had matches where they were doing 30 game pieces to auto and tally up. It helps you get
Mhm.
5 in auto. But so there was some teams who were very good at algae who would even though they were very good at algae, it would slow them down. because the cycles just aren't as fast as the coral cycles. It kind of threw them off a little bit. But 2056, it didn't phase them at all. They just go algae and then transition into coral, and they do the double cycles, where they pick up a piece of algae, grab a piece of coral, and just go. And it was, and remember, 4678 doesn't do algae. So 2056 was really on it, and 7902 was mainly doing defense. So it was just like 2056 was like, yeah, that's fine. We got this. And yeah, it was really okay. Vanilla 12311 in chat says California is washed. I would not go that far, folks. California is still, they're California. They got so many top teams.
Yeah.
We'll see that in a week when, like every time you watch a match and be like, oh yeah, there's another amazing team from California here.
Mhm.
But it's time to recognize some of the winners from the provincial championship. So the winners, Team 4678 Cybercaps from Breslau, 2056 OP Robotics from Stony Creek, and 7902 Markham Firebirds from Markham. That was OP's 6th provincial championship. That was the Cavs' 2nd provincial championship, and the Firebirds' first win. Finalist Team 3683, Team Dave from Waterloo. Team 4476, the Waffles from Kingston. I believe that's Team Dave's 3rd provincial finalist. Waffles 2nd. And Team 1285, the Biggest Birds from Mississauga. Dean's List. Ontario is sending 4 people to Worlds for Dean's List. Alana E. from 3161, the Tronic Titans. Shawnee N. from Team 6135, Arctos. Adam F. from Team 1334, Red Devils. And Alexander Y. from Team 1360, Orbit Robotics. Hey, Maya, we got 3 from Oakville here. I know that's like not your Mississauga, but that's your neck of the woods. What's in the water in Oakville that everyone's winning Dean's List?
I don't know. I guess that's really close to me. I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe I'll pop by and I'll try and figure it out.
Yeah. Let's
I'm
do some
close.
do some testing in the water there.
Mhm.
Engineered Inspiration goes to, we got to see what's in the water in Sudbury actually, because Team 4069 Lowell in robotics wins Engineered Inspiration. They also won the Inspire Award at FTC Provincials, so they are cleaning up those awards. And the Impact Awards, Team 2706 Merge Robotics. Shep did it. They're going to Worlds for Impact. That is massive. And Team 4039 Makeshift Robotics from Hamilton. That's the team you can always count on, the team just who leads with kindness. And like when you were talking about their former drive coach Noah earlier, who's been an inspiration to you, they've been an inspiration to so many. So that was pretty cool. All right, folks, oh, sorry, Quinn, were you trying to say something?
Oh, just watching the makeshift impact video. It was honestly one of my favorites that I've ever seen at provincials. It was super fun watching just kind of the story of their team. And I know that they won last year as well. And just kind of see that they find a new way to go into their community and spread the spirit of first. It's great to see.
Yeah. All right. Now, Julia, if we could take a look at the rest of our stats slide. Let's start stats slide 5. I don't remember what I put on stats slide 5, but yes, I do remember now. It is the graph. Is this 5, Julia? I'm sorry. Did you get me to the one with the graph of all the teams? No, no, no. There we go. There we go. So this is all the teams in Ontario, folks, and the tiers, and we see it right here. Once my pen comes up, there we go. 2056 once again at the top, and then we see the next tier, 4678 and 3683, and then we see almost on their own 5409. I have a little bit of disappointing news for everyone, though. I know everyone wanted to see all of Ontario go down there to Worlds. 4678, 3683, and 5409 have all declined their spots at Worlds. There's a lot going on in the world today. It's expensive or whatever, and they decided it's the best use of their team's resources to stay home for this one, so they won't be going. But don't worry, Ontario's got another tier right here. We got 4946, 1114, 2200, Waffles, 5406. So many strong teams going. And so instead of looking at this on a graph, let's go to the next slide. And we're getting to the next slide. Almost there. Oh, Maybe we're out of slides. Okay, well, I guess we won't be doing that. But yeah, it was oh, slides back. There we go. All right, could we go back one slide maybe? All right, and so here are the top teams. So like pay attention to my pen coming back. The column third from the left. This is pen's coming back. EPA rank. This is their global rank. Ontario has 3 teams in the top 10, 5 teams in the top 25, 7 teams in the top 34. The top 37 is the top 1%. We have 7 teams in the top 1%. For reference, Ontario has about 3.5% of teams globally, but we have 7 of the top 1%. And right there, 10. But let's go to the next slide to see just how many teams we have in the top 100. If we could get to the next slide. No. Okay, we're going to stop looking at slides for right now. I think that's a little bit easier. But I mean, there's just so many teams at the top for Ontario. It is mind-boggling. And Ontario is sending 23 fantastic teams up there to Worlds. And there we go. Here we go. We got our teams going to Worlds. So here we are. Team 2056, 4476, 4946, 7558, 4152, 4039, 1114, 4907, 1325, 8884, the Owls, 2200, 5406, 3739, 1241, 7902, 9785, 188, 781, 4069. That should say 7520, not 7529. My apologies. 10-0-15, 27-06, and 29-35. Round of applause for the teams from Ontario going to Worlds. It is going to be up there. I see there's a little debate in chat over who the top 3 regions are in the world. I'm just going to say this. Ontario is one of them. You know, California, Michigan, Israel. Yeah, there's a lot of great teams all over the place. But Ontario, this year especially, has been fantastic. The level of play has been nuts. My favorite stat, or maybe it's not favorite, is because it's a little bit sad or whatever. Team 11-14, one of the best teams in the world, has lost 10 matches to 2056 this season. They've just played the same good teams over and over again. But you know what? In Ontario, some people in some regions would start kicking and complaining about that. It's not fair. It's not fair. But in Ontario, it's like, yeah, that's just getting me stronger for Worlds. That's getting me stronger. Really good point in chat saying PNW looking strong as well. Pacific Northwest was the region that actually has the world's highest combined score, the 505, and was putting up some massive scores. Now, there was definitely some more processor use in PNW, but I think that a lot of that is strategic. And I mean, there was Alliance number 3, kind of like on Science, that won their 29-10. They declined number 1 and then pulled out a great alliance, but just 29-10. If you've not seen this robot, they are so much fun. They are just fast and blazing around. They've got the 4-piece Alliance Station side auto mode where they go 2 level 4s and 2 level 3s, which allows their partners to both do 3 or 4 pieces. So like they're set up for Worlds if they play things right of having a 10 or 11 or even a 12-piece auto for their alliance. So you know, it's fun to think about things, but like a 29-10 2056 combo, and they've gotten together at IRI the last 2 years to win that event. So could we see that? But I would like to see Canadian teams put on a show at Worlds and just kind of remind everyone what this is all about. We talked about it a lot in the intros, you know. Summer McIntosh, Andre DeGrasse, Rachel Homan. Canadians have been top of the world in a lot of different areas. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is about to win the MVP in the NBA. You know, we've got, Christine Sinclair dominated women's soccer for so long. Canadians have been at the top, and I think it's, this is the year. It's been, we haven't had a world champion since 23. That's when Beaverworks what was it, 23 Beaverworks won?
2023, yeah.
2023. it'd be nice to see another one there, whether it be 2056 or whether it be 4946 or whether it be 188 or 9785. It could be any of those 23 teams we looked at. Any of them could get there. So I don't know. Let's just get as many as we can on Einstein. So tune in, not this week, but next week, twitch.tv/First Inspires, and that's where you can see it all. I'll be hosting coverage there with the Robo Sports Network. It's going to be a good time. Maya, Quinn, any final words on all of this?
I'm excited to watch from home. So cheering on Ontario teams. Hopefully we can win again.
Yeah, I think this is the year, if any. I think Canadian teams, they've got it in the bag. It's been an amazing year for the Ontario district, and good luck to all the teams going down to Worlds.
Yeah, I see in chat someone says now time for top 25. Yeah, tune into FRC top 25 on Fun there. See what's going on. See the top 25 teams. Hopefully there's a bunch of Ontario teams on that list, I'm just saying, like we just kind of previewed it. We kind of made the argument for them. But 2056, 3683, 4678, 5409, and 4946 all should be on there. I think there's an outside shot for 1114 and 2200 to be on there as well. A lot of great teams in Ontario. A lot of great teams. All right, folks, that's a wrap for First Canada Live. We are back in 3 weeks, where hopefully we will be interviewing an Ontario or Canadian world champion. That's this year. It's something like that. And maybe an Ontario Impact Award winner, maybe an Ontario Woody Flowers Award winner, maybe an Ontario Dean's List winner. Let's bring it all home, all the hardware. But let's cheer them on from home, folks, and let's enjoy. But until then, get some rest, folks. Catch up on your schoolwork, everyone, and good luck with those university applications. Hopefully the letters that get in the mail and the emails are good for you. Talk to everyone soon. Have a good night, folks.